Hello everybody and welcome to their Spirit Island Spirit Guide. Today we're going to be talking about Shatters Flicker Like Flame, the last of the low complexity spirits from the core box. So we've talked about the defense one, the utility one, the control one, the movement one, the damage one, and now we have the fear one, the last of the four main mechanics of this game. So Travis, I'm going to let you kind of lead this one because you've played this guy more recently than me because I actually can't remember the last time I played this guy.
I can, so it's probably
more
sooner.
Recent. Yeah,
I also can't remember the last time I played that guy, but this guy, and I'm pretty sure it's because it never happened.
That's fair.
So
Travis, this guy on his summary of power stuff, what does this tell you about this guy?
Well, we got a nice big fear bar, so we generate fear as expected. We got like a medium amount of control. Like 75% offense. As we're going to see with our powers, we have a couple of move the Han around stuff for that, which is the control. Got a little bit of damage doing, which is the offense. Mostly we're here to do fear. Part of that fear does come from the offense part. Destroying towns and cities does get you fear.
Mm-hmm.
But there are quite a few options to explicitly produce that fear as well.
Yes.
We do get to start with 3 presence, which is really nice.
Yeah. And then, you know what? I think also just for me to get even I did read all this stuff before, but to get some further context, let's start talking about this guy piece by piece so we can start putting everything together. Fear also, it shouldn't be overlooked. As we learnt and you get to higher difficulties as well, just having a way to power through the fear deck to get to those terror level 2 and terror level 3 effects. Yeah, not to mention it's the way that you win the game by just usually destroying all cities. Yeah.
Like you can win the game other ways, but it's very, very hard.
Yes, yeah.
Clearing everybody off the island, you should probably play the higher difficulty.
Yeah, if that's how you do end up winning, that's a sign that you can go up, shift up. Yep. All right. Shadows Flicker Like Flame. His special rule is Shadows the Dahan. Whenever you use a power, you may pay 1 energy to target a land with Dahan, regardless of the power's range, power cards, or your innate powers.
Yeah, so this one's pretty neat. In that it lets you target pretty much anywhere on the board if you need to. It makes them quite flexible. The 1 energy can be a little bit of a cost, so it's not something you want to be doing every turn. But especially with other spirits that have high control and can move those Dahan around, it lets you play some pretty high impact powers like across the island. And there's 2 sides to it. You can take a sort of more supporting role. Depending on the cards you get, you'll get lots of defense. You can hold the other lands or lands on other people's boards while they sort of power up. Or you can use it to start like nuking stuff with major powers if they are willing to hold their boards.
Yeah. There's a lot of major powers that have range 0 that do degenerate things.
Yes. Yeah, even on like the minor power scale, just having the ability to like pay 1 extra for a minor power to just trigger somewhere else on the board can be really impactful at the right time.
Yeah. One thing to note, and correct me, I think this is right, but this doesn't override other modifiers to the power's range. So if it says you can only target a wetlands, you can still only target a wetlands.
You can just target one that has.
I believe so.
I think that makes sense because it doesn't change, like it just like targets it changes the range. So I think like it would say regardless of like land type or any other like prerequisites.
Yeah,
I think you're right
case.
on that.
Yeah, I imagine you also have to target like inland or coastal if the power says
Yep.
you
Yes.
have to hit those kinds of
Yeah, any
ones.
other modifiers, it's just like the little arrow with the number you get to ignore.
Yeah, and it's just like basically it says anywhere on the board if there's a little Dahan hanging out there within the stuff that you have. A coastal Dahan ain't no problem anywhere if that's the case. All right, let's talk about the growth options. So we have reclaim, gain a power, add a presence plus 3 energy. I mean, this is a pretty nice thing to show that you're gonna have like the 3 presence, 3 energy is a good way to show that hey, I can buy expensive cards. Also helps kind of pay for my ability and like the big thing. It's like I think of all the spirits we've seen, at least in terms of just like its only energy option, this one is a really big boost to get. And then the add a presence, gain a power card lets you advance your state on the board, but also advance the cards in your hand, which is really nice to have as an option.
Yep.
And then the reclaim gain of power is just going to stop you from getting into reclaim loop because you're just going to also be gaining a power card while you're reclaiming. Yeah.
A nice flexible growth, boring, but
Yeah.
Yeah, is like pretty basic, but
Yeah. But which one of them? They're all pretty basic
Yeah, that's
what
so
we're here
far.
for. Complexity low.
Yeah.
yeah.
His presence track is also very simple. They basically go up for all of them except for the 3/3 that you have in your card plays. But otherwise, you're going to see growth with every single presence that you take.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that this guy was in like the original core box. He would have really benefited from having like a symbol or two somewhere in there. But yeah, this is fine. Definitely kind of leans a little bit towards the major power side of things, I think, as opposed with that jump from 1 energy to 3 energy, and then having to spend like an extra turn at the 3 card place. But you can play minor power strategies with him as well. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so like for like this one as well, like it's kind of a again board state always changes things. Like if you take that 3 energy, you could probably survive with 2 card plays for the first turn, right? And then the next turn you could even like take another 3 energy, get the 1 money, and then play your last 2 cards and then reclaim to get for the next one. Or if you don't need the money, you could do like the power card into the energy track, but has a pretty nice like kind of like straightforward way to take it for your first few growth phases for this guy as well.
Yeah, nothing to think too hard about.
Yeah. All right, now let's get to the real juicy thing, which is this guy's innate power. Darkness swallows the unwary. Look out, unwary. You're fricked. Speed, fast. It's a bird. Range of Sacred Site 1. Target any land. So this one, you could use it to target a Dahan if you pay 1 for it, because you also get to do for your innate powers. You can still
Target a land with Dahan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't move Dahan.
Yes, yeah. Did I say you can move Dahan?
You can move down if nobody stops you.
It's true. That's not what I meant, but Bryn is actually right on that.
Yes, you can cheat if no one notices.
But yeah, you can target a land with Dahan by paying the extra 1 with it. And this one doesn't have any land like specifications, so you can just do the Dahan thing without worrying about anything else. Thresholds: 2 moon, 1 fire, gather 1 explorer. 3 moon, 2 fire, destroy up to 2 explorers, 1 fear per explorer destroyed. 4 moon, 3 fire, 2 feather, 3 damage, 1 fear per invader destroyed by this damage.
Yeah, so this really what pushes you into getting that 2 card plays early to start using it. It's nice to be able to pull explorers out of lands so they can't build there. It's got the bird, so you don't have to like plan for it. You can kind of panic do it if you need to. And then you get with up to 3 card plays, you can start destroying them. Which scales with the game, you're more likely to have guys that you can, or lands that you can target where you can pull 2 explorers in and start getting a little bit of fear from it. And then the last one's pretty tough to get to. Realistically, in spite of the low element count, because you need to have out at least 4 presents, and then whatever energy you use to sustain that.
Yeah, it's probably the reason that we go 3 twice, so that we can't get to the bottom as quickly.
Yeah. No, that's like a little bit tough, but it is very doable, especially if you have other people who can, or cards that can give you the symbols.
Yeah.
And 3 damage, 1 fear per invader destroyed by the damage is, it's like fine.
Yeah, like the thing with this Cascades is that it's not an instead, so you get to do all of them. So you get to like gather an explorer, destroy up to 2 for 2 fear, and then you get to deal 3 damage. If you destroy a town and an explorer, that's like an additional 3 fear, so it's 5 fear in total.
Yep.
It's pretty
That's
good for
pretty
an
good.
innate
Yeah,
power.
not as explosive as some of the other ones we've seen, but still very still the threshold that if you can hit, it's nice. Yeah,
I mean,
especially
a lot
if someone's
of,
boosting your elements.
A lot of the other ones are also like, what elements do we need to make this more than we can ever play?
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah. One of the tough things about this guy is that you don't really have, there's nothing here about gathering Dahan. You can't manipulate them so well. With your innate power, you do, there's one of your innate, or one of your starting cards, I believe it does, but
There is.
yeah. Yeah, and it's just, you really want to get to the second tier to like have it actually do something.
Yes.
Gathering it is just kind of kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, like the gather is like good for like the first turn because you could stop and explore, right? And then like the hard part is when we go back to the growth here, right? Where if you could feasibly take the energy and the presence to make sure you can pay for things and stay at 0 for a few turns until you get to 3, and then start trying to grow your energy income each turn as well through the other ones. But
yeah, taking the power card is nice, but you're really gambling. Like, you really need to hit the Moonfire cards for this guy, I think.
Yeah, because I think like it could be a good way for you to. And actually, as I was going through and choosing for this video, there's actually not a lot of Moonfire cards in here, and I think that might be part of the reason why this guy might have some struggles without the some of his what are they called? Aspects, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're offset by 1 moon, so you can get by with 1 non-moon card.
Yep.
And you're still at your 3 cards.
Yep.
For that last one, there's a little bit of leeway there, but
Or the fire, you mean?
yeah, it can have just moon and no fire.
Yeah. And there is a lot of moon feather. There's a lot of moon feather that you can
moon
use.
feather's super easy. Fire feather also not super uncommon, I don't think.
That's because that's the lightning
bird.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those. Yeah. It also doesn't help too that there's a lot of the there is a great minor, like there's a minor power that has moon, fire, feather, but it's the one that adds blight. Like, it's a really good card, generates a lot of fear, but like we rarely play it, and I imagine that new players, if you're looking for the Spirit Guide, also won't really find the time to play that card, because adding a blight can be tough unless you have someone who can remove blight, and this guy, as we saw from his utility, doesn't really do that at all.
Yeah.
Also, before we get to the cards, I love how he looks in the favors called due. I didn't realize he looks like that. Yeah.
I love this whole thing he's got going on of like, hey, you see I didn't destroy your town? Yeah, you got to go live somewhere else now.
Yeah. Go there. One thing that's also, because of this guy, his sacred sight from his innate power, he kind of gives the vibe that I imagine, this is also coming from like just strategy and not really playing him, but because you have the power that can target across the board, you're going to want to focus on like making sacred sights as you spread out, and then just using that Dahan ability, the Shadows of the Dahan, to hit places that you otherwise would be outside of the range from the sacred sites that you're building.
Yep, I mean, you get to basically start with 2, right? Because you start with the 3 presents, 2 of them are in the High Summered Forest or something, the other's in land 5, and then you put your first present. You're not reclaiming your cards. I hope you're not reclaiming your cards on turn 0.
I've done that.
Yeah, I believe it. But you put your second presence down in land 5, boom, 2 sacred sites.
Yeah.
You can probably cover most of your island.
Yeah. And then like help out the other people if they need it in that range,
which
is really nice. All right, let's start talking about his signature cards here. So Concealing Shadows, 0 cost, Moon Feather, 1 fear, take no damage from ravaging invaders this turn. Sorry, Dahan, take no damage from ravaging invaders this turn.
This is like a great one to play at range.
Yeah.
It's a little bit awkward in that, I mean, it's like a worse defend, kind of, in that you don't actually prevent the blight, but that's like defend infinite, so who cares? I guess.
And because like it's a 0 cost, like defend infinite, and then 1 if you want to target it anywhere with Dahan that are going to get destroyed this turn, which is nice. One thing that I do see a little bit awkward about this guy is that, at least compared to some of these other videos, all the other spirits could like play their cards and like hit their thresholds.
Yeah, this
guy can't.
Find one.
Yeah, which I don't. I mean,
you have 1 too many feathers and 1 few fires, which is surprising.
Which I'm not here to say that like that can't always be the case, but this guy at least know that like when people say that he's a little bit like on the lower power level, and this might be one of those reasons that you start to see why, right, for like these kind of things as well, the small things that add up. Favors called due, 1 cost, slow, range of 1, target any land, gather up to 4 Dahan. If invaders are present and Dahan now outnumber them, 3 fear.
It's a nice one.
Yep.
The favor that he's calling due is not actually go live in my neighbor's house, but like go kill my neighbor.
Yes.
And take his house.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why they're so scared. They just come with like billy clubs and just like, we're here to...
No, this one's really nice because the range of 1, you can move Dahan to any space range 1 on the board. Because you can target, for the extra energy, you can target one of their lands, from one of their lands, target any of the adjacent lands, and just gather them in.
Yeah. Also really good for like setting up future turns as well, where you're like, I want to target this land to like do some things next turn. Also works really well with getting a big army for concealing shadows and just being like, someone will clean up this blight, but we'll just like deal a bunch of damage to the towns and cities there.
This part is somebody else's problem.
Yeah. Mantle of Dread, 1 cost, slow. Target any land, 2 fear. Target may push 1 explorer and town from a land where it has presence.
This one's pretty nice. It gives you like all of your symbols. It being a turtle is not nearly as bad as, being a turtle isn't like inherently bad, but this one's good because you can use it after the build.
Yep.
You know, they explore, the explorer's there, and then the next turn they build, there's an explorer in a town there.
Yeah.
Someone can just shovel them out of their land.
Especially like on the first turn of the game where someone might get an unlucky starting board. They explored and built in one of their lands, and they're like, I can't really solve this. It's just like, well, you know what? What if they're just in the wetlands instead? You know?
What if they were just hanging out someplace else?
Yep.
Yeah, this one gets a little bit less impactful later in the game. But still, 1 energy for 2 fear is totally fine, and getting the symbols that you need is nice.
Yep. Crops wither and fade. This 1 cost, slow, range of 0, target any land. 2 fear, replace 1 town with an explorer or 1 city with a town.
This one's also fine. It's really good for those late game situations when you're trying to clear all the cities, because you don't, especially in conjunction with his innate power, you just need a Dahan in that land, and you can like effectively kill a city.
Yep.
Again, this one leans really hard on the 2 fear for 1 energy, because the effect itself is a little bit lackluster outside of that situation, but still, it's fine, especially as you're working your way up to your innate power.
Yep. I think the one thing that I'm looking at these guys compared to some of the other ones we've seen is that, like, while like Mantle of Dread and like Wither, Crops Wither and Fate have good symbols, they do kind of like, and even like Favors Called do, they do kind of like lose power when the game starts to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
So I think like on the hunt for like the major powers, as this guy seemed to dictate from his tracks, is probably a good way for you to go with this.
Or playing partnered with a spirit who cares about the positioning of the Dahan.
Yes.
Like does things with them.
Yeah.
Which makes surging, rushing river.
River Surges in Sunlight.
Yeah, River Surge is a great pairing for this guy.
Yeah. All right, let's. I just chose 4 things here. One of them is the goat. We love the goat.
The goat's so good for this guy.
The goat is like normally very good.
Yeah.
It's so good for this guy though.
Yeah.
Lure the Unknown, 0 cost, fast, gather 1 town or explorer. This one, while it's not, I mean, like, the fast range to target a land with no invaders to just move things can be good. It does have all 3 of the symbols on it, so sometimes you just kind of need that. It also costs 0, right? So it could be one of those things that is just really good for getting you there.
It doesn't just give him his symbols, it also gives him that leaf, which gives him, which is great synergy with that 4th card, innate card that we looked at.
Yes.
I forget what it's called, but it has a leaf. Makes it quite easy to dip into those powers, and animal is also a common one that comes up.
Yeah, he actually even has animal on that thing as well. So yeah, domesticated animals go berserk.
Yeah. He's got animal on the Favors Called do though, because he's just like, hang on, you guys stay right here. I'm gonna go get my dogs.
Yeah.
He just shows up with a bunch of guys, and you're like, I see.
Yeah. 1 cost, fast speed, range 0, target land, town or city. 1 fear, defend 5. 3 moons, you get to add an animal.
Yeah, don't care too much about the animal, but this is a primo defend card for him.
Yeah, like the 3, because it's 3 moon, it's like pretty free.
You're gonna, like it's free animals.
We just do that.
Yeah, you don't like have an inherent thing to do with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like we're not actually doing anything with them. But
Yeah.
Normally the downside to this card is that it is range 0.
Yeah, but now it can be like...
Yeah, today it's not.
Yep.
Today it's wherever Dahan are.
Good, because then the Dahan can like fight the frick back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the animals like are nice. They may, if you get this, it is very worth it to start digging for one of those major powers that needs animals, because you will have access to 2 animal symbols.
Yeah. Yeah, there was actually one
they're relatively cheap as well.
There was one that didn't make the cut. It was one of the. It was my 3 that I had for the majors, but it was like moon. Oh no, it was like fire and feather, or like moon and feather, and it was the one where you could remove. It's like you either get to add 2 tokens or remove a token to deal damage for each token you remove. and then if you hit the threshold, you get to return 2 of those tokens. That works really well with domesticated animals go berserk. So if you find something that like cares about animals, or if like you're playing with another player who cares about animals, or if you're playing with event cards, this can just passively get you good value from it. So, but yeah, you don't really care about the animals.
Yeah,
just
it's not the important part of the card.
Yeah.
No.
2 majors. We have Terrifying Nightmares. 4 cost, fast, range of 2, any land. 2 fear, push up to 4 towns or cities. That's a pretty good push for a fast power. And then if you have 4 moons, which you're kind of aiming to do in the late game, this is 6 power, which is
6 fear is a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of fear.
For 1 card to give you.
Yeah, this
I think
card's
the
like
most that any card can give you with like printed numbers is 8, I want to say. So 6
that
is
sounds
pretty
right.
big.
Yeah, this power is not going to win you the game on its own, because it
Well, it
doesn't.
might.
But yeah, but not in the way some of the other ones are. But it is gonna like really.
No, not in the way our next one will.
It can give you a way to. It can give you a path to victory where you're like basically stepping on the gas. You're shoveling all your problems down the road, and we're
really good
just
for building a fuck mountain.
It is
Just trying to like burn through the fear deck and win that way.
Yeah. And the last one here, Transform to a Murderous Darkness, 6 cost slow, but if we know that it has in our track, we actually have 6 as our cap out, and that +3 can means we can do like 6 and some energy, or like even just like 5 and then 3. But also, this has all of our symbols that we're trying to meet for our thresholds.
Yeah, plus water and plant.
Yep.
In case that has somehow become something we care about through the course of the game.
6 cost, slow, any target, no range. Target spirit may choose one of their sacred sites. In that land, replace each of their presence with Badlands. The replaced presence leaves the game. Push any number of those Badlands. 3 fear and 3 damage per presence replaced. And then if you have the threshold, you deal 1 damage to adjacent land and then 1 damage in an adjacent land.
Notably, they do not need to be different adjacent lands.
Yes.
So if you push all 3 of your Badlands into this, or 2 or 3 of your Badlands, however many you've made, because you can just like stack a big pile of presents all in one land. Like, there's no rule says you can't. If you push 2 of them, you can do 6 damage in an adjacent land, and that can clear up 2 problem lands all at once.
Yeah. This one's pricey, but it is very impactful.
Yeah. Normally, the downside to it is that hitting a moon and fire threshold is a little bit tough, because there aren't many cards that have both.
Yeah.
And it still is.
It still is, but it's like something we're already trying to do. So
yeah.
That part hasn't changed.
You made me, like, after you told me that, like, Sun and Moon are always for the time cards, and I've now been looking at combinations to try to find, like, what story they're telling. And, like, Moon Fire definitely seems to be, like, ghost stories involving, like, the Dahan and Night. Like, those are, like, the vibes, like, that they
like
seem to have.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, another one that has it is Mom, the animals are fighting downstairs, right? Like, so it's kind of cool now that my eyes have been, like, open to that to try to find that out here.
It usually involves, like, the aftermath of some kind of destruction or something like that, whereas Moon and Wind is similar in that it's, like, ghost stories and, well, not necessarily stories, but ghosts and spirits and generally people, like, being terrified.
This guy, we're going to also, like, in the future do a video talking about aspects, and I imagine we're going to have a lot to say about this guy there, because he has a really nice aspect that he's able to.
I will.
I mean, I'm hoping to play that guy before then, so, you know. Now that we're kind of done with our 6 grind and we can start just, like, doing things.
Grind.
Yeah.
What made you think we're done?
But that is Shadows Flicker Like Flame. Next, we're still going to be focusing into Han. We have the Thunder Speaker for the next one. And then after that, we have Travis's custom character, Spread of Rampant Green. So that should be a good time when that one comes. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.